Now we're going to look at task 4, which is adding teacher issues, and this involves allowing a teacher to select a student, indicating the type of issue, writing comments about the issue, and saving the issue if all the requirements are met. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to create a form using the form wizard. So create form wizard, and it's going to be TBL issues. As we're logging a new issue, we want all the fields apart from the issue ID, because that's an auto number, so it will automatically populate. It might be in the exam it's not an auto number, they might tell you what the issue ID will be. That's something we'll find out when you see the paper. So clicking on next, and next, here you want to give a sensible title for the form, so FRM add new issue, and then finish, click on finish, and your form will appear. Now the first thing you want to do, actually, although it's got everything's populated at the moment, it's a bound form, it's bound to the TBL issues. We want to unbound this. So we're going to go to design view, and what we're going to do is actually, it's good to create it this way because it gives each of the text boxes the name that you want them to have. Like if you click on all, and you can see it's been given the name issue dates. That's nice and easy instead of being called like text 1 or something that doesn't mean anything. So we're just going to delete the student ID, we're going to delete the issue type, and then we're going to, again, everything needs to say unbound. The reason for this is because we're going to, the teacher we want to appear on here is the teacher that's been logged on using the login form. So we're going to use our normal reference to the field. I'm going to actually go to the query I created for login. So if I go to query teacher login, I could use tutor login as well, either one's the same, and I'm going to go to teacher ID and just take a copy of that. Control C, copy that, and close that query now, and in here I'm going to say equals and then just paste that in. Okay, I'm just going to save the form. Now I'm going to give it a sensible title, add new issue, and I'm going to do one more thing. I'm just going to move these down. Now the reason I'm doing this is because issue type is, it says in the scenario indicating the type of issue. When they said indicating last year, that meant radio buttons, or option buttons. I'm actually going to show you how to do this with an option group. So the first thing you do is find your option group on here, which is here, option group, the XYZ with the square at the top. Click on here, and I'm just going to click on the form. Now my label is going to be concern, and the second label is going to be reward, and then click on next. And you could have a default choice. They might tell you to have a default choice, they might not. Maybe you don't want a default. I'll say no for now. Click on next, and I'm going to have value 1 for concern and 2 for reward. Click on next, and I'm going to save the value for later use. Click on next, and just go on to, I want option buttons next, and I'll just call this option type, and finish. And I'm just going to make the form look a bit pretty by moving all this down. And just move that up again. Option type, concern or reward. So what I'm going to do now, so I've got my option type, is I'm going to actually, my issue type is going to be based upon whatever's been selected here. So I'm going to say again equals if, that's double I in the if statement with VBA, if, and I'm going to say if option type, oops, square brackets because I want the value from the field, if option type equals 1, that means a concern's been logged. I want the CON to appear in this issue type. Otherwise, I want REW to appear. In fact, I probably do want a default value here, because, so default value, I'm going to do the default value as 1. And when I go to the form, so you can see default value is the concern. I could have set that up with the wizard. So At the moment no teacher ID is showing because the login form isn't open, so I'm just going to close this form again, and I'm going to say open up the login form login, and I'm going to put a teacher ID. Let's just look at an ID for a teacher, 6577. So 6577 1 2 3 4, and then I'm going to go to my form add issues, which is add new issue, and you can see the teacher ID 6577 has automatically appeared. So now I want to put in the final thing that I want to do. I've made the form, I can select a student, that's what it's asked me to do. The issue type should appear, I need to change something so that the issue type will appear. Now you can see that's actually not working, so I need to have a look at why that's not working. Go to my design view, and I've got if option type, which is the name I thought I'd given to this. Just need to check the name of this. Just check the name, so click the whole thing to check the name, and you can see I've actually called it frame 11, so that's why it wasn't working. So if I just change that to option type and save, and hopefully now it should work. I'll go to form, yes, it's working. Issue type is con, because con is there, and it goes to reward if I change it back again. So the last thing I want to do is I want to, when somebody fills in the details on this form, I then want to append that into the issues table, which of course I'll do with an append query. So I'll go to create, query design, and I'm going to be not querying any table because I'm querying the form, so leave this blank. Very important, if you do query a table it just won't work. So the first field I want to just literally go using my build June 2015 forms, loaded forms because it's open, form add new issue, and I want to have the issue date, okay, and then I want to have the build again, forms, oops, wrong one, forms, loaded forms, form add new issue, student ID, okay, and then the next one exactly the same thing, forms, loaded forms, form add new issue, issue type, okay, and then I want again build, forms, loaded forms, form add new issue, and then it's comments, and then I want teacher ID. I don't want the option type actually, because I've got that already because of the code is populated in the box. So I go to build, and last one, forms, loaded forms, form add new issue. I've got my comments, so I just want my teacher ID, and OK. So the next thing I want to do is just change this, turn this into an append query, and we're going to be adding it to TBL issues. Oops, TBL issues. OK. So just make sure you're appending the right fields. So this one here, issue date, issue ID, remember, will be populated by an auto number for the way we're doing it, student ID. And remember as well, if they ask you to print screen this query, this append query, to make sure you're doing as I'm doing and just double clicking to make sure you can see all of the different fields. And click this one here. Teacher ID goes here, and then we just save that query. There's one more thing we want to do, query append new issue. Always give it, don't be tempted to just call it the default name because it would be really confusing. Query append new issue. The last thing we want to do is a macro. We're going to put the button for the macro on the form, and the macro is going to check that certain fields have been filled in. If they have been filled in, it's going to run the append query. If they haven't, it's going to give an error message. So I'm just going to go to create macro, and the macro is just going to say if is null is the name of the function. If is null, and the field we're checking is null, is going to be student ID, and we're going to say or is null. So if it's empty, basically, or it's open close brackets, and the for the field we'll have the square brackets. So I'm going to say comments. I'll just do those two fields, I don't know which two it will be. Is null student ID. Now because we're going to run this macro on the form, it will know which student ID and comments we're talking about. If we try to run it just from here, it won't work. We'll have to actually put the button on the form. So we're saying, so I've got a bit ahead of myself there. So if that's the case, if they're null, then I'll just add the action here. Message box, I'm just going to move that, drag that into here. It needs to be in the if statement. I want that to be here. So if message box, student must be selected and a comment must be entered. And then we're going to have an else. So in other words, they've been filled in, everything's good, and we're going to open the query, open query, and the query we're going to run is going to be the append query, query append new issue, and then you could add a little message at the end, message new issue has been added, and then you just need to save that macro as mcr add issue. Okay. And the final thing we want to do is just to add that to the form. We go to design view and we're going to go to the button, add a button to the form. Just click on here, we're going to go to miscellaneous, run macro, and the macro is macro add issue. Next, text, and it will be something like add issue is the text on the button. Go to next and finish. Ta-da. To save that, I'm just going to test it all works. Go to form view. So issue date 12th might be asked as well if the date has been filled in, but you can, you know, when you get the scenario, you can see when you're in the exam, you'll be able to see that for yourself. Let's just see if the comments works. Student must be selected, a comment must be entered. Comment, no homework. Okay, let's try that now. Add issue. Back to one append query, good. Append one row. Yay. Okay.